Okay, I actually want to leave the intro to the ladies because I think they'll do a really great job. We have three incredible women, all specialists of their own field. So we'll start off on our left side. Sehr, you want to start off with a quick introduction?
Yeah, my name is Sehr Mahmood. I'm the founder of My Condo Source. I have a platinum pre-construction team. I've been in the business since 2012 with Royal LePage Signature Realty, and here I am.
Thank you.
Hi guys, my name is Olga Donchenko. I'm part of the Berry Cohen Homes team. It's a luxury brand. I've been with the team for 20 years. I sold my first house when I was 18. I wasn't legal to buy a bottle of champagne, but I was legal to sell $1 million property. So that's my funny story, and I love it. It's never the same transaction, and I'm hooked on, matching the right person to the right property.
Hi everyone, my name is Priya. I am the founder and the principal lawyer of Empire Law. I am a practicing lawyer for about 7 years. I've had my own practice for about 5 years now, which is like my first baby. And just a busy mom and a practicing lawyer. I also have my real estate license as well. Majority of my practice is considered real estate, and 80% of my real estate practice is pre-construction. I specialize in assignment sales, and I do a lot. I represent assigners and assignees.
Thank you, Priya. I think sometimes we tend to undersell ourselves, but I just quickly want to say a few things about you guys that I think would be really helpful for you ladies to understand. So Sehr on the left has sold over $1.5 billion in real estate.
Thank you.
That number is insane. And I was actually a part of Seher's team, and the amount of knowledge that I have learned in those 2 months that I worked with her literally set up a lot of my real estate career. But I specifically wanted to say, for any of you willing to get into pre-construction, it's so male dominated. Sehr has been one of the only females to literally take over the pre-construction and make a name for herself, and that is incredible. So a round of applause for you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
I know Olga quickly mentioned, but I just want to say Olga is part of the Berry Cohen team. I think you told us when we met last, like when Berry Cohen was literally just starting off in his basement, in the office. Yeah, Olga was a part of it, and she'd made her first multi-million-dollar transaction at 18, wow, which is incredible. So you are speaking to like the luxury of luxury in real estate. So if any of you guys want to selling sunset type of homes, make sure you talk to her, okay? And lastly, Priya did mention she's a law graduate and she's a lawyer, but at the same time, being a mom in this business, owning a law firm and doing real estate is no joke. So I just want to give a round of applause to Priya for not only being a young mom, but continuing to actually practice law and do real estate and take on everything. So I think a lot of women can relate to that. Now I feel better because I think sometimes we just don't, we sell ourselves too short. That's why we're here. Okay, so we're going to get into the panel questions. I'm going to try to be as specific as possible. Let's start off with Priya. So I want to ask you, what is your number one tip for success in today's real estate market, both for agents and their clients? Because you see it from a completely different, side, right? From the law side, and you see so many transactions happening. What would you say would be your number one tip?
My number one tip would be adaptability and knowledge. I feel like as an agent and as a client, you must be informed at all times. I know the market's not doing well, but this is an opportunity moment. This is the moment that you go out, you make connections, you learn what's selling, what's not selling, why. There's a lot of whys in the market, and you need to understand and feed yourself that knowledge, educate yourself, because you never know when you're going to get that call. It's probably an expired lead, or it might be a new follower, and they want information. You must have that information. You are that resource that clients look for. So I say my number one tip to agents and to clients is to be informed of what's out there in the market. As for our client, I feel that clients need to know what their best economical situation is. I know right now, like we say, the market's not doing that great, but you have to pace yourself in terms of financially, whether or not it's an economical informed decision or not, whether you're going to be out on the market or not.
Yeah, I was also going to mention that. Does that mean, do you see a lot of agents that are not equipped with the knowledge? Like, does that hold them back?
A lot of newer agents, I would say, we want to jump in, we want to succeed. We see a lot of the limelight, we see a lot of platinum agents doing well, and we all want to be that. But I think we jump too fast and we don't take this moment, these lows, into consideration. And what we do is we tend to either give up too easily. And what we need to do rather is go out, meet the sales reps, learn about the projects, learn about what has been sold in the markets before and what's upcoming.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to get just a vote on how many of you guys do pre-construction and resale. So residential agents here? Okay, and pre-construction? Okay, perfect. I'd love to ask you, Sehr, the next question. Thank you, Priya. There's a few questions I have here, but I'm going to start off with something like, if someone was to build their business today in the pre-construction or real estate business, given the market, given the condition, with all of your knowledge, mistakes, and success you've had, how would you build your business today? And it's a loaded question, but
So the first thing is that realizing that when you're in real estate, your entire job is lead generation. So how are you going to go about generating leads? And everything else is on the back burner. Like, a lot of agents, I think, spend a lot of time like saying, I'm busy doing booking showings, I'm busy putting lock boxes. You guys need to be able to understand that every single morning your entire job is lead generation. So for me, when I started, the next question is, how do I find leads? So everybody has a different way of finding leads. Some of that could be like how Jaden was saying, through social media. For me, when I was brand new, I literally at that time in 2012 found my lead on a super glamorous website called Kijiji. I went and I had no listings of my own. I posted other people's listings, got leads for myself from those, and I did 120 rentals my first year. What ended up happening from, thank you. What ended up happening from doing those 120 rentals was that I built a database that first year of 3,500 names and numbers of people who are wanting to transact in real estate. And we have this notion that these leads are useless because they're coming from Kijiji and they were from rentals. Nowadays the equivalent would be Facebook Marketplace. Nobody uses Kijiji anymore, but it's the same premise, right? So I had these names and numbers, and I told myself that, these people all gave me their information because they're interested in real estate. The second year after doing that, I got into pre-construction. I met another agent and he was doing hundreds of units a year. And I said, if I can do 120 rentals, what's going to stop me as this strong independent woman to do 100 sales my next year? I set my target and I met that target. In fact, I exceeded that target. But the way to do it was, educating those tenants that you can now become a home buyer through pre-construction. Because a lot of times your clients don't even know that they can afford to buy a home. So in resale, the transactions need to be quick, and people have to close in 60 to 90 days. With pre-construction, it wasn't like that. You have 3 to 5 years to be able to close. So explaining to these Kijiji leads of mine that, you can put 5% down a year, you can build up your credit history, you just got your job, no problem. You can spend the next 3 to 4 years building that, your credit history, your work experience, and so forth to actually qualify for a mortgage. It was a way into home ownership that these people never even knew about, because the average resale agent does not even understand how pre-construction works. They're not thinking about it, and they're not educating your clients. So that was the way that I really built on that. As soon as I started to do a lot of these deals, I did 100 deals my second year in real estate. I thought my income level would be, I was hoping to make like $250,000, made $1 million in my second year. Thank you. So from there, I started to see what are all the top real estate agents doing. I opened this newspaper article and there were 6 faces on it, and they were all men. There were 6 men. They were deemed the top pre-construction agents of the industry. And I said, I need to do whatever they are doing. So I found out that a lot of them were doing things like seminars, they were doing online advertising, there was many different genres, some were doing radio. I said, if they can do it, I can do it. And then because I'd done a number of deals and now I had income coming in, I said, I need to invest in myself and I need to take this to the next level. So I think the biggest problem is a lot of people are very scared about putting money into their business, but you have to realize this is one of the only industries where people don't want to spend. You go open a restaurant, you go open a salon, you're going to have to invest money into that business when you get started. So why do we think of our business any differently? So I said, you know what, I'm going to pick one genre. So my genre was online advertising and I went heavy into it. And what I found was that, everybody's like, oh my God, you're going to spend money on that? I spent $30,000 and I was able to get 70 deals from that. So who here doesn't think that they'd want to spend $30,000 to make $1 million, right? So that's what I'm saying. So I focused on that. That was my second revenue generator. Now with this day and age, I didn't have social media till, this is embarrassing, but till 2020. So I actually had no social media till then. But then I started realizing I have to evolve what I'm doing too. Kijiji is no longer relevant, right? Online advertising still is, but how do you keep up with the times? So then I saw that all the top agents are now educating their clients to post by posting content. So I said, let me jump on that bandwagon. And I mean, I'm nowhere near Jaden Kennedy. She's like on a different level. But I started to post, what I'm interested in terms of like pre-construction real estate advice, projects. And now my brand has pretty much become pre-construction real estate. So when I post something out, again, like Jaden, I get leads for pre-construction. So that's a third revenue generator. But you have to start sharing information that's going to add value to your clients to keep them engaged. And I also really like what she said about keeping one page so that, if I just post pre-construction projects, no one's interested. So I really, really mix it up with my travel, with my personal life, with fitness, with my charity work that I do. And that way they're constantly on your page. So when you do post that project, they see it right away and you get a lot of interaction. So I would say those are my main three lead generators. But the biggest advice, and when Huda just asked you guys this question, was how many people have a CRM? If you don't have a CRM, you can be successful. You need to put every single name and number of every single person that you meet, even here today, even if there are other agents, into your CRM, because you never know. They might be working in a market that is an hour away and they don't want to commute and they'll give you that referral. So that is the number one thing, because you cannot keep track of people through screenshots, through in your phone. You need to get that CRM and get yourself organized. That would be number one. Follow a Boss is a great, easy one. It's not expensive. I think it's even free up to a certain number of followers. So there's absolutely no excuse. And I would say that would be one of the main things you need to do today as soon as you get home.
I have so many follow-up questions, but I'm just going to follow up with one specific question. Thank you for sharing that. I know you personally, and I noticed that you have a very regimented, strict routine that you follow in your day-to-day life that's not on social media, but that gains you success on your everyday. So going back to the question of as being a new agent or starting today, what are you doing in your personal life day-to-day that is making you successful? Like, are you telling an agent to wake up in the morning and dial for like 3 hours and generate leads? What is it that you find that has made you disciplined in your personal life that has also led to business success?
Yeah, so I would say one of the main things that I did when I first started pre-construction, which was my second year in real estate, where I made that decision that I no longer want to do rentals and I want to focus on sales. The problem is a lot of agents will say, oh, today I'm doing a rental, today I'm doing a sale in like Burlington, today I'm showing a commercial plaza somewhere else. And they just like make themselves seem super, super busy. But I think the way that I excelled so fast in my career was I picked a niche and I really, really stuck to it. So I said, I don't know commercial, I don't know, HVACs and basements and things like that, but I want to get really, really good at what pre-construction is. And I zoned that in even further, where in my first year, I only sold one area. I did all my pre-construction business at Yonge and Eglinton, and I knew everything about this location that I can guarantee you even the top pre-construction agents who've been doing it for years and years wouldn't know. I knew traffic counts, I knew like the density of every single building, I knew what building came up when, I knew like what schools are in the neighborhood. You basically need to know the economics of that area, and I zoned in on that location specifically for the first year. And what I would do is 9 to 12, most sales offices don't open till noon. So 9 to 12 is my prospecting time. Nobody can take away from that. And that doesn't change. So every single morning, I have my routine in the morning where it's like you go to the gym and you have your personal time. But 9 to 12 is just calls. And actually from 12 to 5, I would go to that office of the project that I was selling and I would make calls from there. And the reason it was so successful was because people would say, oh, I'm on lunch and I can come. And I'd be like, great, I'm already here. So I would literally go and work from that sales office. And what ended up happening was sometimes I wouldn't have appointments and they would feel bad for me and they would give me their walk-ins and say, you can have this lead. I've done deals from people who just walked in just because I was there. And these, the sales reps saw that I'm working so hard and I'm sitting there physically. So that was my schedule every single day. Whether I had appointments or not, that's where I was.
Thank you. I want to move over to Olga. Olga, I wanted to ask you, I think it's literally every single woman's agent's dream to enter the real estate market selling luxury homes. And you started off in the luxury sector. So my question to you is, if there's a new agent specifically looking to niche down into luxury real estate, what are you telling them to do today? Like today I come to you and I'm, Olga, I want to sell like a $10 million home. Where am I starting?
I would say your number one focus should be putting yourself into as many contexts where a luxury client would be. So select an area, let's call it Forest Hill. Go to the coffee shop, sit at the coffee shop, listen to the conversations, monitor the barista to see who are those people coming in that they know their names and they know their drink orders, you know they're living in the neighborhood. Talk to the branch managers and ask them, it's free, set up a table and sit there for 2 hours every single day, just welcoming people coming through. And perhaps you heard the conversations, like I was actually doing this, even though I've been seasoned agent, I did this yesterday. I sat at a coffee shop for half an hour and I was listening to people talk. And I thought they would be talking about tariffs. They were talking about Bitcoin. So learn about the topics they're talking about. And then when you're sitting in that TD Bank, for example, and they come in, be educated and start the conversations. Get yourself exposed. And then another tool that I used when I was starting out is a lot of the luxury realtors will be hosting agent open houses. So they might not open it to the public, but they will open it to the agents. And that's your golden ticket. You have the access. Go in there, introduce yourself, ask the questions, see the potential buyers that might be coming through, and educate yourself, not only connecting with that agent of the neighborhood, but ask them, what is the number one feature they think that will sell the property? What kind of a buyer are they expecting to buy this property? This way you're learning not only about the product, but you're also learning about the buyer. And I would say another thing that really helped me was envision your ideal luxury client. Let's say it's a buyer. And even map them out, like write it all out. Like what age group are they in? What family configuration? Where do they work? What car do they drive? Where do they travel? And in all those areas, educate yourself. So this time when you're talking to them, you can also, what I did was I did a second table on the right, and I'm like, which interest do I have and what points can connect me to that potential client? So I had multiple points. I'm like, okay. And as your life changed, so for example, like I started off, I was single, I got married, I had kids, right? Your family life changes. That potential buyer or seller can also change, and you can find new ways of connecting with them. And that can actually fit so well into your lifestyle. So I started connecting with people because I was simply hanging out at a playground that was in the Forest Hill neighborhood. And I could connect with them and we could chat, and I would ask them if they are living, are they coming to the school? The kids are growing up, so they're going to be moving. They're considering private schools. Where are you going? And that would, I educated, I actually, as an example, at one point, I thought it was a full-time job. I was educating myself on all the private schools of Toronto. So this way I knew exactly where a client would send their kid, and I could connect over that. And I actually landed so many clients through that because they're like, hey, you know the schools, I want you to find the property that will match that. So I would say, to summarize, put yourself into as many situations where you can learn or be exposed to a luxury buyer or seller.
My follow-up question to that is, as a new agent, would you also advise joining a luxury team? Because I know you're with Barry Cohen, that opened up a lot of opportunities. So on top of that, what are the recommendations to specialize in luxury real estate? Is it join a team? Is it join the right brokerage that does luxury? What would you say about that?
I would say for sure that would help you. Joining a team, you get training essentially just by overseeing what they do and the conversations they have. You'll be exposed to training. Like when I was starting out, I said, hey, I was available at any time that anybody needed to have a showing covered. Like no matter where they were, it was middle of the night. It was a Friday night. I had dinner plans. I canceled the dinner plans. I went out and did that showing because another agent, a seasoned agent, asked me to, or just asked it in the group chat, hey, can somebody cover that showing? I would be out there. And then that was an opportunity to learn by doing. I think that's the best way to learn, is to learn by doing. And that will give you the exposure. And I would say go out there. What's nice about what I found with luxury agents or seasoned agent is when you approach them and they see that you're hungry for business, they will actually resonate and they will give you opportunities. They might give you an internship, or they might give you an admin role. Go for it.
How do you ask for that? So give us an example.
So I would do a similar thing. I would open up all the sales that happen in the neighborhood over 5 million and look at the agents that made the sales. Pick up the phone, call them up, introduce yourself, or better, find a way to show up to their open house, like an agent's open house. Introduce yourself, tell them who you are, and agents love follow-up. So that's the one thing, because we do it ourselves. If you want something, make sure you follow up and you show them how committed you are to this thing. So I when I needed something from an agent, it something took 10 times to follow up with them to get something. But they were like, at the end of it, they gave in and they're like, it's better for me to give it to her than stay quiet and continuously be harassed by her with questions.
Okay, great. Thank you. Priya, I want to get into, we have a lot of, obviously we have women here, some that have children and, are busy in their own lives as young mothers and trying to do real estate. What would you say you do to effectively manage your time and really prioritize your work, your marriage, your kids? Like how do we do it all?
You said it.
No, I know, but how? What are some things that you do? Is it just like, I just do it? Or do you have a system in place? Is it when you're burnt out, do you take a break? Do you like work yourself? Do you just, kind of troop through it? What are some things that would really help women in your shoes?
I say prioritize. You said it in your question. I prioritize my time. I time block everything. There's a certain time for me time, that no one can take away. And there's times when I have to be in the office and I'm just strictly working or getting through a deal or a transaction. And then there's a time when I'm just catering to my family, to my kids. But I'm time blocking everything. Throughout my day, I am time blocking. I'm mentally always thinking, okay, I can only spend an X amount of hours time or minutes to this particular task at hand because I have to jump to the other. By doing that, I'm programming my mind that, yes, I need to be on top of everything. As women, I feel like we have so many superpowers. We feel like we wake up every morning and we're like, okay, I'm Superwoman today and I have X amount of power and I'm going to execute. But my second point was that I love to delegate. And I've learned this through the hard way. I delegate tasks now, whether it be in the office, whether it be at home, whether it be, I'm blessed enough to have the great amount of help that I have through my husband's parents, my parents, whenever I need that help, when it comes to my children. But when it comes to the office, I delegate tasks. I delegate throughout my day because I need to reserve my powers. I need to reserve those superwomen, those superpowers that we have within us as women for a day that I really, really need to have it when I don't have the help. So really prioritizing time management, and really delegating, learning to delegate, because as women, I feel like we want to do everything. but succeeding doesn't mean to do everything. Succeeding means to do it efficiently. So when you're being efficient with all of your tasks, your time, that is really when you start to see the best results.
Yeah, and I also think like you get depleted, right? If you're not delegating and not prioritizing, then when you start working on your business, it's like you're tired or you physically can't do it. It's late at night. So I think that's really important. The other thing I was going to ask you, for those of you that don't know, Priya is actually a part of Circle Brokerage, and they are one of the highest producing teams in Canada when it comes to pre-construction. So I want to ask you, being a part of that environment and seeing everything that goes on from high producing agents, and you see so many of them, what are some things that you notice that people are doing when it comes to performance, high volume, and just being successful?
Well, the two other panelists also mentioned it. It's lead generation, proactive lead generation would be one of them. Just following up, networking, social media, creating content, being there, being informed of what's working today in today's market, and leaving behind, learning new methods, learning a new system, tweaking your existing system, for example. That would be one. Second is being informed, having the market expertise. You shouldn't be a salesperson or a broker. You should not limit the amount of knowledge that you have. Your clients should look at you as advisors. You should be able to retain all that information and, take it forward, take it at top notch. You're just not a salesperson for this person. This person is now your client. You will be taking care of them. You will be leading them to a lawyer, a mortgage agent. They will be working with your people. You're bringing them into your community. That's what I've seen with the Circle agents. They're really essentially, they call themselves the real estate advisors rather than salespeople. And lastly, the client follow-ups. They're so important. You don't know how many clients I get throughout the day that say, oh, I'm like, who was your agent when you bought this? Oh, I don't know, they're not picking up anymore. But you need to follow up with your clients. You need to do that hand-holding rather than following up on your commission check, which I know we all love, but you should be following up on whether this person that you sold to 2 years back when the market was so great, can they actually close in a time like today? Do they need extra help? Do they need more guidance or more information? I feel like the client follow-up is so important. You need to stick around and you need to be there. That's how they're going to appreciate your services and come back to you.
Yeah. Let's switch gears for a second and talk about the elephant in the room, which is the market today, okay? I think a lot of us are here because we want to learn and we want to understand what we can do differently and build our businesses today. I feel free to chime in. I'm going to ask Sehr, but I'd love to know all of you guys, what are your predictions for 2025 when it comes to pre-construction, just real estate? Where is it headed? What do you see coming?
It's no secret that 2024 was kind of a dismal year, especially in the pre-construction market. We only had 4,591 sales. And just to give you perspective, in an average year, we have 20,830 sales. And this is like our 10-year average. During COVID, which is a hot market, we had 30,000 sales. So now to go down to 4,000, what ends up happening is because the sales were so slow, now we have a lot of unsold inventory that's sitting on the market. So we actually ended the year in 2024 with 24,000 unsold units. So, the problem is we also had a lot of completions come to market last year because, of course, COVID was super hot. So what ended up happening was everybody was launching a lot of sites. We had 90 launches during COVID in 2021. When they come to completion, now all of a sudden we had 29,000 completions last year. So the sales were not there. The completions were very high. And this year is actually a record high number of completions coming to pre-construction, which is 30,000 completions. So the absorption is unfortunately not there. So what you're starting to see is, you have to look at real estate long term. So yes, right now we're sitting in this market where you're like, oh my God, there's so much inventory. Nobody's buying pre-construction. But what ends up happening is that builders last year stopped launching. So there was 33 launches last year compared to an average average year is usually 80 to 90 launches. We are 33. So it's down 65% of what it normally should be. And we don't see the effect of that this year. We're not going to see the effect of that next year. But what ends up happening is construction starts are down 59%. In 2027, in a regular year, we should have about 20,000 completions. So in 2027, we have 18,000. 2028, we have 9,000. In 2029, we only have 3,000 completions. So it's going to take some time, but that's when you're going to start to see that imbalance between demand and supply. And that's when we will see prices to start going back up. We're going to see rents go back up. So right now, all our investors are like, oh my God, rents went down 5% since last year. Prices have gone down. It's all doom and gloom. But you as a realtor has to be able to educate them into saying, you know what, Canada still has 395,000 people coming to the country every single year. Yes, it's down from 500,000, but it's because, we had to get it in control. So 400,000 people is still a lot of people coming in, and that is going to, have that imbalance of demand and supply come into check. We have 700,000 trades retiring over the next 10 years. So what that means is that there's not going to be enough trades to build housing. So we need to bring these people in. So just to keep these immigrants and find them all housing, we need 45,000 to 50,000 homes a year for that. So even when we say we're in this market where there was 30,000 completions, it still doesn't actually match what we're looking for long term. So because of that imbalance, you are going to see prices go up, and you have to educate your buyers that it is just going to take some time. But this is why this is the best market to buy in, because the incentives that I'm seeing from builders today are unlike anything I've seen in my 12-year career. You're getting interest on deposits, you're getting rental guarantees, you're getting monthly deposit programs of $1,400 a month. You're seeing everything under the sun, and whatever you're not seeing can actually be negotiated if you just call the builder. They're not only doing price drops, but literally you can negotiate so many terms and conditions that was unheard of 3 years ago. 3 years ago, you said, I want a 1-bedroom on the south side. They'll say, well, too bad. We have a 3-bedroom facing the garbage on the second floor. Do you want it or not? You have 2 minutes. This is actually true. And I'd be like, oh, well, it's 12 o'clock at night. My client's sleeping. Wake them up. That would be the response. Now the agreements are going out, and your buyer can take 5 days to sign. It's like no problem. People are not feeling rushed anymore. They can take their time. They can make that educated, decision about whether they want to move ahead. It's not, before in COVID, if a client canceled, I'd be scared. I'd be scared to call Sehr and say, hey, give me more units. When she's like, well, your last 2 clients just canceled. So I'd rather give my units to that person whose deals go firm. We don't have that anymore. So this is the best time for them, A, to get in because of the incentives, and you to get in as well to be able to, showcase the builders that I'm a pre-construction agent that you need to keep top of mind when the market does get back out. So, the market might seem slow now, but it is going to come back to that hot market that I think maybe 4 years from now. It's going to take time, but that's my perspective.
And you're saying to start now, because when it comes back up, there's going to be no time.
There's no chance to get back in. This is the time that you got to build. And this is where you'll actually make your clients money, because the incentives are so good. So when they actually close 3 years, 4 years from now, 5 years from now, and they see that appreciation and they see what you've done for them, they're going to give you referrals, they're going to come back. The reason that I was able to scale my business to doing 300 transactions a year, it's impossible in resale, but it's so possible in pre-construction, because I have clients who buy 20 units a year. I have clients who buy 7, 8 units a year. I have one client who's bought over 70 condos from me in the last 5 years. So that one purchaser can turn into multiple transactions very, very fast, whereas you can't find that with resale. In the resale market, they're moving once every 5, 6, 10 years. They might never move. And by the time they do move, they might forget that you're in real estate. Their brother might be an agent, But with pre-construction, you're top of mind, you're making them money, and they're going to keep coming back. And that's how you build that repeatable, scalable business and take it to that next level, which is not available in a lot of other niches of real estate.
Well, and right now, I'm going to be a client, okay? I'm going to be a new realtor. The market's dead. If I focus on pre-con, it's going to take so long for me to make money. Should I also do a little bit of resale and a little bit of that? Is that okay to do right now?
Yeah, for sure. You can do whatever you want, but I'm just saying, for me, success came from picking a niche and getting really, really good at it. So, of course, you can still do resale, but whatever you're focusing on, you really need to put a lot of work in. And I think pre-construction is a full-time gig on its own. You can be very, very successful in it. There's agents who have been. But if you say, I want to do commercial, then just focus on that. If you want to do resale, you just got to be super, super targeted on your areas and what you want to do, because you don't want to be like jack of all trades and master of nothing. If you try and be everything to everyone, you're going to end up being nothing to no one. So pick a direction and just follow that.
Quote of the day, guys.
Thank you. I just made that up.
Olga, what do you see in the luxury market? What's happening in 2025? I've heard that, price doesn't matter to these guys because the economy doesn't really affect them and they're still going to make the purchases because they're playing in a different bracket. Is that true? And what are you seeing?
I would say it's true to some extent. I mean, in the general sense of the market, just to comment kind of on what you were saying too, don't forget that 65% of the people, they move because they have to.
Mm-hmm.
They got a new job or they went through a divorce, the family grew, they have to move. So they will oversee the interest rate, the prices dropping, whatever it is, they will see past that. That's 65% of the market. When we get into the luxury, and when I say luxury, it's everything over 5 million, those people, I would say they're less volatile when the economy changes because they usually have multiple business streams, they have multiple sources of income. Their business in let's say India might be doing really well, but their business in the US might not be doing so well, and vice versa with Canada. So they have all of these additional incomes that they can fall back on, and they buy because it's a bit of a different buyer. They buy because something is exclusive, unique, and they want that thing. Like, it's because they want. So you do get a lot of those buyers that will oversee. But at the end of the day, educate yourself. You still have to make sense for your buyers, why that particular property makes sense for them to buy as an investment. You cannot avoid. These are extremely smart people.
Are they buying, is the luxury market buying investment properties, or are they selling and buying their own homes?
They're selling, I'm talking about more like the real estate that they buy that's, for them to live in. One interesting thing is the kind of conversation we started having with some of our clients as an idea for you guys is, I'm not a pre-construction agent, but I saw there's a lot of opportunity. So the kind of phone calls that I started making is like, hey, I know you have kids who are graduating high school in the next 2 years. There's this great opportunity in pre-construction. You can secure a unit and essentially make money on it by the time it closes and have a unit that your kid can move into when they go to university. Like, this is the conversations we're having. These people, they have access to funds. If something they will always jump on something that will make them money. That's another cool thing. They have a very business mindset. So in a way, it makes it easier to work with them because they're quite transactional. So they tend to move their emotions out of the deal. So that kind of makes it easier. But they also have a very long checklist of things.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, just because you're in the luxury market, it looks, it gives that certain prestige and it looks fancy and something that I'd like to do. But how hard is it to actually get your first listing? What does that type of client require in terms of service? And I'm just wondering, if I get my first home and I've never sold, and I'm going to be an agent, if I've never sold a luxury real estate before, how do you get someone to instill trust to be like, hey, give me a $4 million listing, but I'm new, I have zero experience selling luxury real estate. What does that, how did you do it? And what does that look like?
So for me, it was making sure I made it a point to make sure that I'm the resource for my clients on everything. I called people up, connected with trade. I connected with painters, designers, stagers, photographers, house sitters, dog sitters. I've made a whole network. So I wanted my clients or potential clients, whenever they thought about anything, the first thought would be to pick up the phone and call Olga because she would know.
Mm-hmm.
That's what made you credible.
That's what made me credible. Even though I may have not sold the properties in their particular market, but I was the go-to person for them on all these different levels, and there was already trust that was built into it. And another tip I can share is I've never, people walk into the room, there's a lot of, great agents who've sold great properties, and when they walk into the room, they make it all about themselves. I'm this phenomenal agent, I make this huge commission, I've sold all these multi-million-dollar homes, but every seller feels like their property is one of a kind. It's unique. So you have to make it about the property. And this is maybe not a question that asked, but even now, if we touch a bit of on marketing, we started using a new strategy. It's called storytelling. We will actually sit down with our client, with our seller, and we'll interview them, ask them, what's your favorite thing about the property? What do you like doing here? How do you spend your time? And they will give us a whole question answer, and then we will write out a whole story, almost like a little Hollywood movie that we'll then shoot.
Mhm.
That we'll actually shoot it into a video, and we're trying to put forward an emotion that comes through the property, and they love it.
Do you also transact a lot on social media? Does that work for you in the luxury market?
I would say it gives me credibility, and I call it my 30-second resume. If people don't know me, they open up my social media, they read it, and they're like, okay, she's legit. They can see the properties you've sold, they can hear you speak, and another thing they compliment is, I think you mentioned it, when they show up to the showing, I'm authentic and I'm the same person, they feel connected. They feel like they know me. Like sometimes they walk through the property and they're like, you know what, we've never spoken to you, but we feel like we know you because they looked at the social media and they saw me present properties.
Also, I'm wondering, in the luxury market, is it also a heavy-based referral system? Like in the non-luxury market, they say real estate, half of your business after 5 years is mostly referrals. Is it like that? If one wealthy person sells their home, are they referring you to another person within the family or elsewhere as well? Or
yes, if they had a good experience with you, for sure, you'll get their kids and relatives and neighbors, you will get a referral business. But that's why it's also important. I always say it's not about the transaction, it's about the relationship. Make sure you build the relationship, make sure you stay on them, make sure your relationship doesn't end after they get their keys. It continues. Remember their birthdays. One actually interesting thing is I started remembering people who have dogs, and I would send them Happy International Dog Day.
Oh, I would love that. That would get me for sure.
I saw your head turn when you said that.
Like honestly, people responded to those things so much more than happy birthday, happy holidays, whatever else it could be. They responded so much more to those, and they would actually pick up the phone and call me and be like, "Oh my God, you remembered that I have a dog." And so be creative and find those personable point of contact with them.
I was going to also say, more than like educating yourself on real estate, I think sales training, learning how to sell and creating conversation is equally as important, because you're in the business of sales. You have to learn how to transfer one emotion from yourself to the other. So I was going to say, it's great learning about the market and knowing, but if you can't connect and you don't have communication and you don't have the ability to transfer one emotion, take them from I'm not sure to yes, this sounds like a great deal. Those are skills that are learned over time. They don't just come. So investing in that is also crucial. I'm going to ask the last question to Priya, and then I think I'm going to open it up to questions, even though we have a few more here. Priya, specifically speaking to pre-construction, even though a lot of you might not know it or are looking to get into it, there is the agreement of purchase and sale, which is the APS that the client signs right after they've decided, okay, I'm ready to buy a pre-construction condo. From a legal perspective, what would you say the agent needs to know in that APS that is imperative? Because I don't know if you guys know, but as soon as you sell the pre-construction project, when you get the APS, do you find that a lot of agents just go, here's it, like, now you can speak to the lawyer will review everything, and then, then you'll sign off and everything's done, while the agent has no clue. So what are some things that an agent should know about an APS and that you feel are important, or that goes, that they don't know and it causes more harm than good?
Everything. You need to read the whole 60-yard pages.
Really?
Yeah. I'm joking. That's what we're here for. But you need to know the basics. You need to know what your client has purchased. You need to be able to identify what your if the incentives that you marketed, if they're stipulated in the agreement of purchase and sale. You need to be able to point that out, because one of the first things your client is going to say is, hey, you know that $30,000 rebate that I got, or that price reduction, where is it? I don't find it. I can't see it. You need to be able to find and familiarize yourself with the agreement of purchase and sale. Unlike, it goes the same way for resale as well. Resale, I would say every every point or every clause in the agreement of purchase and sale is so crucial, because resale is very, and just like reconstruction, it's very deal by deal, case by case scenario. So you don't know where your client is going to be stuck. You may have an HST clause that, or you may have, wrongfully or mistakenly left a rental items clause blank. So who does the onus fall on? You need to understand the legalities behind each clause. When it comes to the pre-construction agreements, they're very much similar in nature. They're very much project to project, vendor to vendor. They are so similar. I can tell you clause number 6 or article number 6 or 14 is your closing costs and adjustments. You need to familiarize yourself. I mean, it's a 60 daunting page agreement, or even beyond that, but really know your basics, know what your client is buying, know where you can find that, know where you can target your incentives, know your closing costs and your adjustments. You can find them on the Terrion addendum, which is way underneath in the agreement of purchase and sale, probably in the last couple pages of the agreement. Familiarize yourself with these documents, because they're drafted from the vendor's solicitors, so they are similar in nature, and they are meant to cater more towards diminishing liability on the vendor perspective. But there's nothing in the agreement that would hinder upon a purchaser or a buyer. So it's as scary as it may look, because it's a 150-page odd document. Know yourself, familiarize yourself with the document before you pass it on to the lawyer. I have a lot of agents that just call me and say, hey, I'm referring a client out to you because they want a legal review, 10-day cooling off period. But you know what? I just want to let you know that these are the incentives that you should look out for. These are the particular clauses that, these are the client's concerns. So please make sure that you talk about the HST rebate, you talk about the assignment clauses, so we can emphasize on that.
Yeah.
So pretty much I would say everything, but know your basics.
Know your basics.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The one thing that I do in my team, and you can attest to this, that every time we do a pre-construction deal, we actually do a Zoom of the APS with the client before it goes to the lawyer. And we point out, this is where your assignment clause is, this is where what your deposits are, these are the incentives. And we do a full Zoom with the client just so they feel even more secure, because they might not use the lawyer that I've referred. They might go use their Uncle Sam, who's a resale lawyer who has no idea what a pre-construction contract looks like, and who doesn't even look at the back to see where the amendments to say that the assignment is free and so forth. So in our team, we actually just even go through everything ourselves just to make them double secure, and that works really, really well. And it also makes you look like you know what you're doing.
We're going to take questions, but I just wanted to say a lot of you are here for networking, and I think the 3 ladies that are here, this is a form of networking that you can do. Priya is obviously a lawyer. I would highly suggest that if you have a lawyer on the back pocket, always expand your network. Just like Jaden said, this is an ecosystem. So I will say connect with Priya. Olga, she mentioned, luxury real estate. If there's any of you that want to go, I would say ask her if you can host her open house. It's the perfect segue into luxury real estate. And Sehr is always looking for hungry real estate agents that want to learn pre-construction. So if you're like, hey, I want to learn, I don't even know where to get started. I learned through that. I wanted to follow a shark and I wanted to see what they did. The amount of things that I've learned in those 2 months are still serving me today. So I would say these are great.
She literally did 8 deals from doing no deals within the first month. And it's because you have to align yourself with the right people who can take you ahead, right? Would you agree? Yeah.
So I would definitely say network. But I do want to open up questions. We're okay. The storm is not here yet, guys. We are unemployed every single day. You have to go and get business every single day. So your time here, whether there's a storm or not storm, I understand. But this is where the work pays off, because you got to feed yourself. There's no one coming to save us. This is what sales and real estate is. It's a hard business, and that's why we do it, because we get rewarded really, really well when we do it. So I'm going to take some questions for the ladies. Please feel free to ask. Come on, girls.
This is for Sehr. All of you are fabulous and you have so much energy, so it's great that we put this together. Regarding your initial startup when you said it was going on Kijiji, where I would just post stuff, can you kind of elaborate on what exactly you did?
Yeah, I can tell you exactly what I did. So in 2012, it was a hot rental market at that time, and I had no listings of my own, and I didn't know anybody. So what I did was I would ask other agents who had brand new listings on MLS, so not a 2-day-old listing, literally like that morning, a fresh listing that I knew was in a good building in a good area. So I had done my research. I know what are the top buildings downtown that people are looking for. So I would pick the popular buildings, and I also knew the floor plans really well. So I'd say, oh my God, there's a 1-bedroom on the south side with a fabulous view that go up. I don't need to go to that unit. I knew the building so well that I would be like, that's a hot unit. That's the unit that I would post on Kijiji as an ad to do an open house that same evening. So every day from 6 to 7 and 7 to 8, I had 2 open houses on rentals, and that's where I met 30 people a night and literally built my database very, very fast. I was not doing rentals by taking 1 person to 5 units. I was doing rentals by bringing 30 people to me and signing an offer that night. If you don't have your paperwork, like your employment letter and your Equifax, you're not coming to my rental open house. So it was like a very strict process, and you need to make the process strict to be able to get volume done. I think we as agents are so scared. We think that the client is the boss. No, you have to be the authority to say like, this is the process that you're going to follow. I did rental deals with clients who had not even seen the unit. Like I had people call me from Kijiji, like I'm coming from Ottawa. I said, oh, don't worry about it. What are you looking for? And I would put them in that unit without them doing a single showing. And they would say, oh my God, this is my dream home. Because I knew the building so well, and I knew what do people like. You have to really understand your clients' needs and wants. And I think that's the most important thing, whether you're doing rentals or sales. A lot of agents are just in it for the commission. You really have to stop thinking about the money. The money is a byproduct of the work. You have to do good work and everything else will follow. So focus on your clients' needs and wants and zone in on that. And that's where you'll see the success come to you.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
We'll take 2 more questions, and then I'll let everyone network if you guys want to ask the speakers questions on their own. Go ahead.
I have a question for Priya. I'm a new agent. I've been in business for only 6 months, and I have a lot of questions to the lawyers that I'm working with. But I don't know, like, is it just me or maybe somebody else has that? But I have this notion that I feel ashamed almost to call up the lawyer and to ask some questions about the contract, because like I want to be fluent in contract, right? Like I want to sit in front of the client, and I don't want to say, oh, this clause is just for the lawyer. No, I want to know everything, right? So what is your take on newer agents that are just starting their career, and how do you, like, what's your perception of the agents when newer agents, when they call you in the middle of your busy day and just asking your questions about like just a regular contract?
Just go for it. Go for it. You can't be scared in the industry that we're in, right? Don't let that notion bring you down. If you have a question, as no question is a silly question, or no question, I would say, is a question that, isn't of value. So pick up the phone. If you know a lawyer, pick up the phone, ask them if they have 2 minutes to spare so they can just debrief you on it. What I do with my agents, or at least the circle agents, is that I do seminars with them, internal seminars, which, and I have templates. Because I specialize in assignment sales, what I do is I have assignment clauses, and every now and then when a realtor calls me up and they say, hey, you know what, I have an assignment coming up, can you pass me along your template? I'm like, sure, I can. Why not? If you're gonna send it to me to review, and one of the conditions is a lawyer review, you should be well prepared to know what you're going to send me, and that way when it comes to me and it comes to my desk, I'm not sitting there redlining everything. You know. So if it means to just pick up the phone, call someone, pick it up, do it, ask away, because we're there to help you. We're there to help you, your clients, to succeed and for the transaction to successfully close.
the one thing that I did in the pre-construction business was that, because it's a very lengthy contract, I actually booked an appointment with a lawyer, paid them their fee. The fee of the review is $300. I said, this is the contract. I'm not even the purchaser. I want you to do the review with me as if I'm the client, and I learned that way. So you go through the whole process and you learn from the lawyer. That way it's not like you're figuring things out on your own. It's the best use of $300 that you could ever use.
Anyone else? Yeah, go ahead.
I have a question for really any of you ladies. How do you manage risk in a volatile market? And then what have you learned from some of the downturns you've seen the past year or prior?
So I would say that for me, I took a lot of risk when I started this business, because when I started this business, I had nothing. I was actually $80,000 in debt, and I had my back up against the wall, and I was like, I need to make this work, or I actually have to physically leave the country. So those are my options at that time. So I said, what am I going to do? So once I did my rentals and I said, I want to take myself to the next level, I just had to evaluate what is the risk going to me to be able to pump money into advertising and get to that next level of how the top agents are doing. I don't want to imitate someone who's doing 5 deals a year. I want to imitate the person who's doing 500 deals. So I took the savings that I was making from those deals that were coming in, and I said, let me take a calculated risk of how I can make this work. And I did the work that goes along with calling the lead when it comes in, following up within 2 minutes. But the worst thing that could have happened to me was I lose my money and I'm back to zero and I do a few more rentals. So it's worth it, because the upside is that I could do hundreds and thousands of dollars in sales. So I would say, look at your business like that.
Okay. And if I can add a little bit, be intentional with your risk.
Mm-hmm.
Scatter yourself. Like one day I'm taking a risk here, and then another day I drop this thing. I'm gonna zero in on something, and then be intentional. Like, yes, you're taking risks, but be consistently taking the same risk every day for say 3 months, or structure it for yourself. Like, I'm gonna take a risk by boosting my posts, for example. But give yourself a 3 months, set a target when you're going to evaluate whether it works or not. You cannot boost it once and think that suddenly now it's gonna work and generate leads.
Yeah, because the biggest thing I see with new agents is they say that, you know what, I posted this video and I posted many, many videos, and for 6 months, nothing happened. Do you think that the biggest companies like Coca-Cola and Apple and so forth say, oh, well, I have a billboard and nobody stopped off the highway and went and bought a Coke? It doesn't work like that. It's about building visibility, building your brand, and for people to be able to see you as an expert. That's what you're trying to do, and then the results will come with time. So you can't just give up because 1,000 people saw your post and nobody contacted you. So you can't think of it like, what's the ROI on social media? It's like we live in this day and age where we want everything to be so measurable, but it can't work like that. Einstein actually has this great quote: not everything that can be counted counts, and not everything that you can count can be counted. So I think of social media exactly like that, where you literally just have to pump it out and just wait.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's give a round of applause to our panelists. I think some of you are sitting behind. Okay, I think some of them are sitting behind, so totally up to you. Grab some drinks. Jaden's here. Just pick their brain if you want for a bit, and then hope you ladies have a lovely evening. Thank you so much.